There we go. There we go. Finally ran into some fish here, guys. I like it. There we go. That's a perfect little chance to start the video on a little spotted bass. All right, guys. You are going to calm down. Look at that. Today, we're throwing lipless crankbaits to locate these traveling pre-spawn fish. Here's what goes down, guys. Water starts warming up, right? These fish that have been in the wintertime, they've been deep, you know, trying to stay as warm as possible. As that weather gets hotter, these fish are gonna start moving up into these creek channels, and eventually they're gonna spawn. They're gonna lay their nests and spawn back in these areas. But as that weather warms up, they're gonna slowly start going back in their secondary points and moving in the back of cuts, but they're not gonna stay there. They're gonna move back at night because it's still cool. They'll move back a little bit, and then in the daytime, as that sun comes up, they'll move back in there. So with the Vicious Extreme Vibe, I can actually cover water and figure out where those fish are at that certain time of the day. Because remember, the hot weather is going to keep them on the move, so you got to have a bait that you can move quickly and locate those fish. So let's break down this technique, starting with rigging. The setup with this rig is really simple. All you do is pull it out of the package and tie it up with whatever your favorite knot is. I use a Palomar, it works for me. The rod I like is a nice parabolic bend, okay? So this is a moderate to fast taper right there. So you got that nice bend in the rod. The reason being is that allows the fish to be able to pull. It doesn't pull these hooks out because we've got little small treble hooks. So when that fish is fighting, you don't want it to get the leverage. If you got a real stiff rod, when that fish makes its run, it'll tear these little hooks right out of the mouth. You want that nice little give. Anytime you're using a crankbait, you want a parabolic bend, that nice give in that rod. All right, so as we're working this bank, there's a few things we want to keep in mind. First is these fish, they're coming up from their wintertime spots. So these fish have been lethargic, they're moving slow. So I want to use slower retrieves. The first retrieve I like that really is kind of the go-to this time of the year is the real basic retrieve. All I do is make a long cast, put my rod tip down, and just have a slow retrieve. And I'm keeping this bait as close to the bottom as possible. If it's dragging along the bottom and bumping like it is right now, that's okay. Oh, I just got hit too. I want to snag little things along the bottom. Any kind of grass or brush piles that I snag up and then it pops free, that's going to trigger strikes. And that's also going to get better action, a little erratic action out of that bait. It's going to pop out of that stuff and really get these fish to commit to it. Now the second retrieve is a sweeping action, and then I reel the slack in. Sweep that rod, reel in the slack. So I'm getting that little vibrating motion that lipless baits are known for, but then I'm letting that bait die, so it's fluttering back down. So that's giving that fish, remember we talked about they're not that active, they need a chance to go after it. So when it's fluttering down, that's that fish's opportunity to hammer that bait. And you'll find that's a lot of times when you get hit. So as I'm reeling that slack, all of a sudden you'll just feel boom, and that's that fish just inhaling that bait. And it's okay if you're hitting bottom and stuff, you want to keep that bait pretty close to the bottom. So if this bait dies on the bottom, it's okay. And as I'm working this bank and working different high probability areas, I'm gonna switch back and forth between these two different retrieves. Sometimes I'll make a couple little sweeps, and sometimes I'll just let that bait slowly work down the bottom. And you'll find that these fish will respond to one or the other this time of the year. And once you're finding what they seem to like more that day or in that certain area, keep giving it to them. Okay, now let me make a couple points here. Now, because I'm reeling this bait slowly, it's hitting the bottom a lot, I'm letting it die, you're gonna come in contact with cover and structure, and these baits are gonna get caught up. So there's two things. First, I like real light wire hooks. That way, if I get caught up in a log or something like that, a lot of times if I pull hard enough, I'll be able to straighten one of these hooks out, so I'm not gonna lose my bait, right? So on the other end of that, you've gotta make sure you use heavy enough line. I'll go anywhere from about a 12, 17 pound mono or fluorocarbon. If you guys are fishing from the shore, this is another good trick. I would go up to anywhere from 15 to 20 pound line. So if you snag a log or snag something down there, all you gotta do is just put a lot of pressure on there, really pull it straight, and you'll be able to straighten out one of these hooks, carry some hooks with you, but a lot of times you can just bend it back. But if not, Carry a couple spare treble hooks with you and you can switch out these hooks. As we come out of the winter into the spring, these fish have one thing on their mind. It's the spawn. So they're gonna eventually start moving to the back of these creek channels, towards the back of them, and they're gonna be feeding up and going to transition areas, which are little secondary points, little cuts. And as they keep moving back there, they're gonna feed up. And once the water conditions heat up enough and they find a spot that they feel comfortable in, that's where they're gonna end up spawning. So they don't do that all at one time. They don't just go from deep water to shallow water overnight. They slowly start moving up the main lake points during the heat of the day, then they'll move back down at night. Then as the water temps really start rising up, they'll move to secondary points back in there, but if it cools down, they'll back out to the main points again. So they keep going these cycles. As that sun comes up during the day, they'll move a little bit farther in there, and then as the night doesn't get as cold, they won't back out as far. So with the lipless crankbait, you really want to cover a lot of water and figure out where those fish are in that transition area. So you start on the main lake points, especially in the morning times. Right now I started in the low 60s today, the water temps. So I started on the main lake points, and as that sun came up, I was able to find fish on the sunny side. Because if you go into a creek channel, a lot of times one is going to have a lot of shade on one side and the other side is going to have a lot of sun. You want to focus on that. These fish need warmer water this time of the year, so focus on where the sun is. As you make your way back into those creek channels, you want to switch back and forth between your two different retrieves and fish the high percentage areas. So like I said, along the main lake point, then any cuts, creek channels, or little secondary points. A secondary point is just any point that's inside the creek channel, inside the main lake points, and work your way all the way to the back. Eventually you're gonna run into those fish. They're gonna be, maybe a third of the way back there on some secondary points or in some cuts. Once you figure that out, then you go to the next creek channel and do the same thing, but you start where you found those fish in the previous cove. With these fish constantly moving this time of the year, you need to have a bait where you can track them down. It's all about moving, giving them some different options on retrieves, and then bumping into them, finding what transition point they've made it to, and then exploiting that. If you want to slow down to some other kind of bait after that, a drop shot or something, once you've found those fish, you can do whatever you want. But until then, using a lipless crankbait like this Vicious Extreme Vibe is the perfect way to track those little bad boys down and have some success. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, hit us the thumbs up, comment section below, and subscribe so you can get updates when we post new videos. I'm Travis with Lucky Tackle Box. We will see you on the next one.